Brought to you by Hulu. Time to have great original shows and movies. Time to have Hulu. Hey, party people. Welcome to an exciting Wednesday episode of SJU. I'm here with Kim. I'm here with Danielle. And we're talking, can Fantastic Beasts 3 save the Potterverse? Spoiler alert. No, but we're also talking. Well, Kim might disagree. We're also going to talk about some amazing FX stuff going on, specifically Reservation Dogs and some of our favorite FX series of all time. Furthermore, we're going to dive into the take verse regarding James Bond. Should he be a lady or not? Daniel Craig had some thoughts on it, and we'll add our own. And finally, ads on Disney Plus coming to you, whether you want them or not. That all in addition to your comments and questions that we'll be reacting to throughout the show. So keep those coming in the chat. But we begin. There's still this franchise is too big to fail, people. We cannot stop making Harry Potter things, no matter how little people seem to want them anymore. But there's still a core. There's still a strong core of fandom holding on and hoping that they get it right this time. However, it's all the same people, except for Johnny Depp. It's David Yates directing. It's Steve Kloves who wrote all of them, along with J.K. Rowling, who co-wrote the first two Fantastic Beasts. As I said, Johnny Depp has been shuffled to the side, transmogrified, I believe is the in-universe term, into Mads Mikkelsen. So upgrade, downgrade, neither here nor there, depending on what you think. That said, this is a polyjuice casting. Ryan says, yeah. We do have a title and a release date now. The secrets, multiple secrets of Dumbledore, and a release date, Easter weekend, 2022, which is bumping it up, I believe, from when it was previously scheduled, and it's going up against a Channing Tatum movie called The Lost City of D. That made
the Lost City of what?
But now that made me laugh. We might have to go see that instead. But look, I know I personally am a little burnt out with the Potter franchise based on these really based on the last Fantastic Beast movie and J.K. Rowling's continual cartwheeling of her own foot into her mouth. But what say you? What would they have to do? And does this title do anything for you in thinking that, you know, they can right the ship and get us back involved for the final 3 Fantastic Beasts films in the planned quadrilogy? What do they have to do? And is this doing anything for you? Danielle, you look annoyed. You'll go first.
I am annoyed. First of all, are there any secrets left to Dumbledore that JK dumbass hasn't put on her Twitter already? There's no secrets left. What is the secret?
He used to poop on the floor along with all the other wizards.
Poop on the floor. And he was gay, but we'll never show it. I don't know. Aside from, and I don't think for a lot of people, you can take the JK out of the Potter. But if we're going to do that and remove the part of me that just wants to yell about how stupid she's been, these movies were not good. They were just not good. On the surface, they were not good movies. And I like Mads, and that's the thing is they have great casts, but the movies aren't good. I
won't say no to you on that, but I will push back in saying there are good parts of the first 2 Fantastic Beasts films, namely the Fantastic Beasts and namely Eddie Redmayne, and yet we seem to be moving further and further away from that and into just straight Harry Potter prequel territory.
I think that when they talk about Fantastic Beasts and where to find them, that is a very fun part of the movie. And then when they get into the wizard Nazis or doing wizard Nazi stuff, I'm I want Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. That's what I was promised, and you were not giving me the thing. Once they start getting into prequel territory, I'm I am super uninterested. Again, they have a fantastic cast. Everything else aside, I just don't care anymore. Not for this franchise, specifically for the Fantastic Beasts. They have used up all of my goodwill.
Kim, you're closer to Hogwarts. What say you?
I am closer to Hogwarts. And I mean, I've said this publicly before. I've never been a big fan of the Harry Potter franchise in book form or movie form. There are things that I like about the movies. And I felt strongly when Fantastic Beasts came around that they were better films than the Harry Potter movies. And I've written a whole article about that on Fandom, so I'll direct people there if they want to see why I think that. But for me, I like where the story was going in these films, and this title does draw me in. And I do want to see it, and Jude Law as Dumbledore is perhaps, for me, his most likable role ever. And that this film is going to focus on him and Dumbledore. It makes me happy. I want to see more of that. And I'm excited to see Mads Mikkelsen pick up from Johnny Depp, because Mads Mikkelsen.
He's always a good villain. I mean, I guess it just is a matter of personal preference, because to me, I think, as Danielle was saying, I love the idea of just a magical romp through these different beasts and the different locales, the far-flung places where you can find them, and like Pokemon. It's Pokemon.
It's Pokemon.
It should be. And I also, the other aspect I really liked was Jacob, what's the actor's name?
Dan Fogler.
Fogler, like good Josh Gad. I thought that he was really funny, and I worry that like they're running out of excuses to kind of shoehorn him into this adventure, and still like, let's bring our Muggle pet along for the ride. I just think that the closer we get, the black hole at the center of the Potterverse is like everything has to go back to Hogwarts and back to Dumbledore and back to Harry Potter and the Chosen One and Voldemort, and it's like there's so much more to explore. Let's widen this out. If you really want this to be the franchise that can just go on forever, I think that you see the danger of something like Star Wars that has to make every single thing about the Skywalkers, when it can be the strongest when it does something like the Mandalorian, and it's like, go off in the outskirts and go explore there, and they keep pulling us back into this core story about the same like 3 or 4 characters. So that's why it's not doing anything for me.
I mean, maybe his secrets are that he's been trafficking fantastic beasts. And,
yes.
And and suddenly we'll see him as this evil entity, and Eddie Redmayne's Newt Scamander will take him on and maybe team up with Grindelwald and say, look, we're not having this bad treatment of these beasts.
Yeah, I prefer if they were busting like an animal smuggling ring instead of running one to like really nice magic chinchilla coats. That would be pretty funny too. I just don't see any real twists coming in that respect. And also mentioning the secrets of Dumbledore, like, yes, we know he's gay. We know he had a long-term, well, I don't know how long, but he had a relationship with Grindelwald at some point in their lives. These aren't secrets. Like if there's like one piece of lore about Dumbledore, it's that. But then again, like, we're in a nerd bubble, and I don't know, Joe Schmo on the street probably has no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, because like they're not following on Twitter, which is the only place that you would know any of these things.
Well, there's secrets maybe to the characters within the film. So
right. And like, would that even be a big deal to be revealed within the wizard world? Like, is homosexuality a problem then? Like, you'd think they'd be whatever.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I thought it was fine, but judging by the author, like a lot of stuff.
We're in an English boarding school after all. Like, it's gonna happen. Anyways, I don't know. What are people in the chat saying, Ryan? Any strong takes in any direction?
There was a comment. I put it in the script here where they just brought up one aspect that we didn't. Where is it here? Oh yeah. Rick Toledo 21, science versus magic. That's something that they started to hint at in the second movie. Could be a cool premise. And I did forget that they hinted at this whole like stop World War II plot line coming.
That was weird.
But maybe there could be something of like magic interacting with the real world in a bigger way that we haven't seen that could be interesting, at least just to watch, versus like kind of I know the lack of creativity with the magic, I think would be or when they do get creative, it's like magic that breaks the entire universe, like his detective spell in that second movie, where it's like, oh well, if you could do this, you could do this in every movie. Like, I don't know, just more creative magic scenes would be fun versus just the whole like wand shooting at each other type thing.
Pew!
But you run into the problem of like this is a prequel, so anything that they do then now in this preceding films or succeeding films, you go, why did they do that again?
Memory spell.
Memory spell.
There's always magic.
It's Phoenix flew across the earth like Superman, and
Yeah.
Everyone forgets.
I did forget that Dumbledore, Grindelwald hits the magic bong and then blows out the vape smoke or whatever and shows us World War II. And it puts us in the uncomfortable position of like rooting for the villain to prevent the Holocaust, which means our heroes are in favor of having World War II happen. It's a little messy, but I do like the general idea of science versus magic, or some wizards start using it or incorporating it or something like that to kind of freshen it up, or just like a wizard living undercover in the modern day. I don't know. There's so many places to take this. It's just something that has so much potential. It seems like it's a waste to go back to Hogwarts and back to Dumbledore.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be wands versus wand. Pew pew pew.
Yeah. Well, there you go. that's three semi cranky opinions on the Fantastic Beasts series, but I would love to hear from like a super fan who's like, no, this is great, I'm super psyched and here's why. So keep an ear out for that in the comments, and I would love to hear it. Please, I want to come back, but I can't. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe and hit the bell. You'll know what it is. We got a lot more stuff to cover, so let's keep moving. Reservation Dogs. You might have noticed this episode was brought to you by Hulu. That was my dulcet tones informing you before the episode began. And we genuinely are all loving, or at least I know I and Danielle are. Kim, are you watching Reservation Dogs?
It has not come to the UK yet. It doesn't. Yeah, it will debut on Disney Plus later in the autumn.
Yeah. Well, you get your eyeballs ready, because it's hilarious, it's heartfelt, it's fun, it's cool. Danielle, opine on the joy that is Reservation Dogs.
It's one of those things where it starts off with like these 4 teens that are living on the res. And then it does, like great shows do, where it starts with them and then it expands out so that you learn more about the world that they're living in, and the things that they're going through. And so like, this is one of those, like, you laugh and then maybe you cry, and then you laugh and then maybe you cry. Like the further it gets into it. I don't think this is a spoiler because you can look this up on IMDb, but Bill Burr is in an episode who I did not recognize because he doesn't sound like Bill Burr. Like he's actually doing a really, really good Oklahoma, or I think they're in Oklahoma, but he's doing a really good, like, not Boston accent. So I had to look it up to see if it was like him, because he didn't sound like him. Everyone who is in this series is like hardcore bringing it. Yeah, like it's something that is needed. Like, you know, there's it's just really nice to be able to see, obviously, like, the representation is dope, but like, even aside from that, it's just a really good show. Just like really, 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 you know, all of the performances are fantastic. Every episode is like, it's very slice of life. But it's like incredibly funny, and the jokes come from like such a genuine place. I don't know. I can't gush about the show enough. Like, everyone should be watching it. It's on Hulu. Like, go do it.
Really good character-driven comedy show in a very unique setting. And it's just so funny to me that Bill Burr has become like Disney's go-to guy for like this, and The Mandalorian is like, oh, let's throw Bill Burr in there. He'll be funny. But while we're on the subject of FX shows, man, they've had some hits. They've had some hits over the years. So, Kim, you have had some of them over in the UK. What's your all-time top FX series?
Well, I have cogitated and come up with Legion as my all-time favorite. I see some nodding there. That pleases me. But, you know, when I first started watching Legion, I loved something that I don't immediately understand. And it was like, nothing I'd ever seen before. You know, Noah Hawley's take on the superhero show was bold and so different from anything the MCU was doing at that time. And not that it was that long ago, you know, 2017, I think it debuted, and there were only 3 seasons. But I love what he did. I love I love that they took a chance on it as well, because it was a chance. But it's so highly acclaimed and so influential, even though it was only 3 seasons long. You can see its influence in WandaVision and Loki, the 2 recent Disney Plus Marvel series, in the retro future look of Loki, and the delving into kind of the mental health side of things. It's unsettling, and I really love weird stuff. And it's cerebral and it's psychedelic, and I'm going to watch it again. I think I've just persuaded myself.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's officially over, right? Was it 2 seasons and done?
Was it 3?
3, 2 or 3? Oh,
3.
I might have a season I need to watch.
I think it was 3.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was 3.
Okay. Oh, cool. Well, there you go. I've got my viewing cut out for me. I looked at FX shows, and I decided that I'm going with a 4-way tie between Always Sunny, of course. I mean, legend. Seinfeld on crack. Like, it's so good. I hope they keep doing it forever, or at least until it stops being funny. Still funny to me. Better Things, which I was a big fan of before I became a parent myself, is like the best like single mom and 3 adorable difficult children that she's struggling to wrangle and just hold things together during. Pamela Adlon is just so funny, and just like listening to her voice, it just makes me happy. Fargo, the Noah Hawley one previously mentioned, that probably gave him the blank check, or at least like the studio notes, so he could do Legion as weird as he wanted to, because he adapted the Coen brothers and quite well, which is no easy feat. And then The Americans. I mean, The Americans is like, you know, the side of the MCU, like Black Widow done right, is what I want to say. It's like, it actually is the sexy undercover, but still like a dark past explored in interesting ways, great performances, cool action. This show's so good, so good. So do yourself a favor and go back and watch from season 1, because it's just, I can't say enough good things about Kerry Russell and Jonathan, what's his face, except that I think one of them left their partner for each other or something like that.
Yep.
But you can see why during this show, because it's very sexy and you see everyone's butt a lot. But it's also really exciting and a good period piece of Cold War America. So yeah, those are my sorry to take over, to take most of the choices off the board, but Danielle, you have any other ones?
Yeah, I have a 3-way. So we're doing this. I'm starting off with Atlanta. Atlanta is I think that Atlanta is the show. Like, I think when you look at the Dave, the Little Dicky show, I think that was the show that FX thought that they were getting with Atlanta. That because it's about like obviously like an up and coming rapper, but it's about like so much more than that. And because it's Donald Glover, it's also this, like, aside from just being about a rapper and his manager and the things that they go through, it's also like very surreal. There are a lot of like really like magical, surreal elements in it, which is like totally my bag, and you never see them coming. Even if I tell you that, like when you watch the episodes, you will never see those coming. And it's just very well written. And I believe that they're working on their last season, because Donald Glover is like such a busy little bee. So I think they're working on their last season, and I'm very excited to see how that wraps up. Plus, they have a black chick that's also German. So obviously, I'm going to have a little bit of that.
Micro-targeted to you.
Micro-targeted, exactly. You know, the ads are working. You just keep listening to my voice through the phone, and you'll find out what I like. My second one, which I feel like I might have stolen from you, Spenny, I love Archer.
Well, sure. Yeah. Who doesn't?
Yeah. It's one of like, it's just for an animated series. It's them clearly building off of some of the work that they had done on Adult Swim. And again, with the kind of retro futuristic, we don't know what time it's set in, and then them having the balls, frankly, to be like, we have exhausted this premise. Let's go take it into other things, because we can take these characters and put them anywhere. And it speaks to the strength of the writing and the strength of the character building and the strength of the show, that you're actually able to take those characters from their original setting and just plop them into other ones. And it still works and it's still funny. And then lastly, and I'm going to go ahead and preface this with, I haven't watched it in a minute, so I'm sure that parts of it do not hold up. And I'm sure that parts of it will be embarrassing for me to admit that I liked. I love The League.
I never watched The League.
Let's go.
Yeah.
The League is really funny. Obviously, it starts off with this like fantasy football league. That is the way that they start off, and that's how you learn about the characters. But really, it's just like any group, any funny thing about a group full of friends. Like it's Oh, Ryan says early Nick Kroll, baby. Yeah, like it's just like any kind of thing about a group of friends that are very extreme about something. And so you don't have to know anything about football. You don't have to like football. You just have to know that all of these people are really, really, really committed to this one thing. And they have no problem with, even though they are lifelong like friends, they have no problem with putting, gosh darn it, with shoving each other under the bus in order to make this happen. I know, I'm sorry. But they have no problem with making that happen. And it's just like, it's a really funny show. And like the jokes are like, it's one of those where it's like Always Sunny. The jokes are just like boom, 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 boom. Awful people being awful to each other, but you still really like them. And even like the married couple is terrible to each other. I don't know. It's just really funny.
Yeah. So solid all around. It's like there's really too much to choose from. And thank you for reminding me that Archer had Adult Swim roots, because then it's like, oh yeah, this is the same people that made C-Lab. So of course it's good. But probably the best show ever made. Look Under the Sea. That's where you'll find me. And then yes, Eric is slamming his thoughts and opinions into the script, even though he's not on the show. But hello, Eric. To just mention that Justified rules, and of course, What We Do in the Shadows. How can we forget that? And Terriers, that no one watched, but is also really good. One season. So there you go. There's if you're looking for something to watch, lots to pick from. Fill in the blanks there. I know I will. And try to watch it through all the ads that might be coming soon to Disney Plus and Hulu. At a recent Q&A with Bob, one of the Bobs, Chapek, the Goldman Sachs 30th annual Communicopia conference.
I could not.
Nope.
Communicopia, baby.
Oh, we are in a dystopia. In a dystopia.
Communicopia.
That's where the Hunger Games were made. We're like in that, like they were designed in that.
Everybody run into the center, and it's a common rapping about drones on the inside. Okay, here's his full quote. I don't know what Bob Chapek sounds like, so I'm just going to make him sound like a nerd. I think what's driving it is that combination of content that draws a lot of eyeballs and draws interest and viewership. But this is actually too boring. I can't even get through this. This is such a long and boring quote. The point is, he's considering advertising on Disney Plus and Hulu. So they are using, I'm reading between the lines, they're using their AI Borg mind infiltration robot to take a look at what people want to see and where and what they, and turn on the microphone, alleged parody, and listen to what they are considering buying, and then micro target them ads based on their viewing habits and what they're interested in over time. So granted, he's talking to a audience of Goldman Sachs people, so he's probably just like trying to get them all hot and bothered. He's trying to play the hits to that kind of crowd, which is like monetization, ads.
Ooh, micro-targeting.
Ooh, yeah, a little footsie with the micro-targeting. And he says, quote, I would say that does lead us to think big thoughts about what could happen in other markets across the world. So maybe we won't get them in the US of A, but you're SOL if you're anywhere else. What do you think? Is this do you think we'll ever get maybe a free tier with ads for Disney Plus, or is Disney just too controlling of their brand and their image to let The Mandalorian sponsored by Foot Locker to ever grace itself on your screen?
I mean,
do you need more of my money? Like, do you need it?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? But I suppose in this, we've been talking, over the last few months about the competition in the streaming market, and yes, Disney is buying up everything, and yes, Disney is huge and will probably always be huge. But one way for these streamers to ensure they're keeping profits up is to diversify their revenue streams, and this makes sense. Not that I welcome it necessarily, but given what we do for a living, we need advertising to support what we do. So I get it, and I do hope that they will offer an advert free option. I'm sure it will be hugely expensive, but I still listen to Spotify with the ads, so I'm not going there.
Ouch. Yeah, I like you said, they have all the money, but I mean that's the the iron logic of capitalism. It's like, so what, you're growing, you need to grow more every single year. And there's only so many human beings who are willing to buy Disney Plus. Surely there's a limit on that. So the ones you have, you got to milk more money out of them. Otherwise, those Goldman Sachs Communicopia after parties aren't just going to hit the same way. You know, the Coke buffet is going to be like a meter shorter next year.
That's right. Oh, darn it, Danielle, don't say that. I was saying hit us right in our mommy milkers. Like,
it's Mickey milkers when you're
I'll say, you know, it's probably about making some more money from people, but I think a part of this idea of like these ad tiers is also like in their heads getting you people who wouldn't have subscribed otherwise. It's kind of by having more options, you're hoping to add people with maybe a $5, you know, as Disney Plus rises to the $9.99, or if it ever starts going to Netflix at, you know, $12.99 or $15 with your Hulu and ESPN bundle, do they offer a $5 ad just Disney Plus option for the people who just want to watch Mandalorian or whatever, you know, like, I think it's more along the lines of what we saw Peacock doing when they first started out. Like, I think that's kind of more of the vein of what he's saying there, of just like having tier options. It also lets you raise your regular option because you now offer a cheaper option. So I think it's more about variability and more chances to catch the shrimp in the net.
Okay, so when you subscribe to Screen Junkies Plus,
we got on 99-cent Screen Junkies
flat
Plus.
fee, baby, no ads. Yeah, the app won't work, but we'll still take your money.
You're in or you're out. Yeah.
I think Disney Plus should do it. They just all ads should be delivered by Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, and then it's fine. Everyone will love it. We'll clap. Okay, now moving on to an even spicier, to a spice off, if you will. I've got my Spice Girls with me today, and Daniel Craig weighed in on a quote that I believe has some more context to it in the interview, but I only have one excerpt here, so we'll just pretend this is all it's about. He was asked about whether there should be a female James Bond. Why should a woman should a woman ever play James Bond? And he said, the answer to that is very simple. There should simply be better parts for women and actors of color. Why should a woman play James Bond when there should be a part just as good as James Bond, but for a woman? Well, a simple seeming statement, but a topic with certainly a lot of nuance. So I feel like we should maybe tease this out if we have time or interest, or we can just say agree or disagree if you want. I open the floor. We won't call this a movie fight. We'll call this a movie discussion. Danielle, do you have a take?
I do. I see what he's getting at. And also, like, in these interviews, people like flub and like everything's not perfect. So we also have to take it for this isn't Liam Neeson being like, I once beat up a dude with a chain. Like, you know,
I went looking for one of them.
Yeah, like this isn't the same as
so
that.
I understand.
So for those of us that like find Bond movies to be the same thing over and over and over again, if they're going to keep making Bonds, then you might as well try one where, you know, it's the same thing with like a Doctor Who, which I love Doctor Who. But if you're going to keep making them, then you might as well try to see if you can do something different to keep people's interest. Because I'm going to be real with you, I'm finding Bond real boring right now.
Because you're watching.
Oh, I'm so bored. I'm so bored.
Honest trailer preview. We're watching some old James Bond movies, and there's a lot of legwork. Let's put it that way. A lot of meetings.
oh boy. And so I see why there's like a thought about spicing it up, but I also like I have always said, like, I'm never going to get mad. And I think it's really exciting when you take a hero or you take like an established property and then you put someone like a person of color or a woman or something into that, because it's like interesting and refreshes that property. But I also agree that like more people of color and women and queer folks, we should be allowed to just tell these stories and establish our own James Bond and establish our own heroes that can be that person. And I think that that's what he was trying to say. Without knowing him. But again, it's not like, you know, we've seen worse is all I'm saying from people who have been on these press tours.
Yeah. Kim, any mild to hot takes?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of has made me angry that he said this, and I think you know, like Danielle said, in these environments, sometimes he's a human being and he's asked this question and he's just come out with something maybe he hasn't really thought it through properly. And I don't think Daniel Craig likes interviews very much. finds them difficult. But you know, if there are great, or increasingly there are great parts for women and people of color, they exist. For a person of color or a woman to take on the role of James Bond would be a huge step forward. And I agree with Danielle that it would refresh the whole franchise, you know, and maybe only do it for one movie if it doesn't work. I don't know. But if Doctor Who can be a woman, and if James Bond can be a Scotsman, an Englishman, a Welshman, an Australian, or an Irishman, as Woody Allen has been, you know, he can be
in that parody movie, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
I've just come off the back, of watching Foundation, David Goyer's adaptation of Foundation, and he's changed some of those key roles from men to women, and it works perfectly well.
Mm-hmm. Well, there you go. I mean, look, James Bond is not real. So James Bond can be a shoe. James Bond can be a turtle. James Bond can be anything the writer decides James Bond can be. I will only, not even to say devil's advocate, but I would only say that if you make James Bond a woman, you can't just make James Bond a woman. I think that you need to do more than that. You need to the character would change. I think you'd have to have a different backstory. You'd have to have different reactions and different
Nah, I want Jamie Bond just mushing women in the face.
I just think that if the character would have had a different experience going through MI6 and Secret Service and would use different methods to get close to, you know, Blofeld or whatever. And I do really want to see the Bond boy that's like some naive, waifish man that just washes up. It's like, my dad's a marine biologist and I'm scared.
I love shells.
I love shells. And then she's just like, come here, let me come behind this cove. I'm going to
very specific Dr. No references. He literally takes a woman's face and just mushes her. That's a different movie. But yeah, if I could get, and even with a Bond of color, there's no way that we get him mushing a white girl in the face. There's no way that we get any of the say goodbye now. This is man talk. We don't get any of the pats on the ass or any of that stuff. And I'm okay with that. I'm super good with it. As long as we keep the stupid Bond name, Bond girl names, I'm good with it. But yeah, we don't get any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
And then as far as just make your own legendary 17 movie long franchise but with a woman or person of color, it's okay, yeah, I would love that, but there's only 8 of those going around, and they all get movies made of them every single year, and they all need new ideas but I don't think James Bond woman now is enough, and I hope that the storytelling would reflect a different perspective and a different nuance. As funny as it would be to just have a lady do a Sean Connery impression. I'm kind of talking myself into that one now. So anyways, yeah, not as spicy as I would have liked this section to be, but we'll have more vitriolic takes next week, I promise. On to the live chat. Here's the important questions. Lovetto asks, in honor of Nagini, what's the best movie where a human turns into an animal?
American Werewolf in London.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a really good one.
Solid.
Oh.
Does that count as an animal?
Oh yeah.
He's a werewolf.
That's a werewolf. Right. A wolf in the name.
Then
I'll stick with it, and I'll go with Twilight too. I just couldn't think of another one in time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
All I can think of is Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I'm sorry, I can't. I need to think more about this.
Animality.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of mermaids are not real, so it doesn't count in Splash when suddenly Tom Hanks gets to be a mermaid or whatever happens to him at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
I like that you Splash. Reminded me of this though. I love that ending.
It's so weird.
I'm trying to remember what happens at the end of The Mermaid, that Stephen Chow movie. I love that movie. I'm just going to assume that somebody turns into a mermaid during that film and say, go watch The Mermaid if you haven't. Here's a good question.
Oh, The Lobster, maybe? No.
Oh, The Lobster. Yes. Yes, please. Okay, Matan Volinsky.
Oh, The Fly. Sorry.
Oh, The Fly.
Oh, The Fly is a good one. Yeah, that's a good pick.
Here's a good question, Kim. I'm just assuming you're a Doctor Who fan, so sorry if that's just a stereotype. But can Kim, a Brit who hates Harry Potter, Do you have something to say about Doctor Who don't have a new showrunner? I'm not up to speed on Doctor Who gossip. So what's your opinion?
I mean, do I have something to say about it? I mean, what I would say about it is that I'm always excited when there's some fresh blood injected into a long-running franchise like this. So I don't know who it will be. I'm not going to speculate, but I mean, maybe it'll be a woman. Imagine a woman showrunner. Maybe Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Oh, I don't think that. I think that she's too rich. I think she's too rich for them now. Yeah, too rich for their blood.
Yeah. That's a thankless job these days. Doctor Who showrunner. My God.
It is, yes.
Okay, but more important question. James Blunt writes: did you know Jackie Chan's parents were a spy and a drug dealer? I didn't know that. No, I did not. That's wild. Like for the Chinese government, I guess, or for somebody else. That's crazy. I would love to know more. Are there any other weird star backstories that we know of, or that you'd see a movie made about?
Who was it? Was it Woody Harrelson, whose dad was like a assassin or something like that?
Yeah.
Was that Woody?
Like something he'd make up.
I think so.
What's oh God.
I have to Google that.
Yeah. Dolph Lundgren is interesting, but I don't know about his parents. He probably has
Dolph Lundgren's really interesting.
Yeah.
Just like being like he's actually a super
Chemical
genius and no one knows
engineer,
this. Yeah.
Scholarship to MIT, like, and at the same time was like dating Grace Jones, like I think before he was famous.
Yeah.
he's pretty baller. Who's the other one? Like Saruman, Christopher Lee also was like a spy, but I don't know about anyone's parents.
He was a spy, was he?
Yeah. Or he killed like a lot of. He like had some thing about a World War II movie where he's like, I've killed 17 Nazis. That's not how you do it. You do it like this. I
don't know, but I used to go out with a guy, I'm not famous. And this guy is kind of notorious, infamous, but I'm not going to name him. When I was a kid, who claimed to have been brainwashed in a underground assassin training program. And I'd like to see, I mean, we've seen stories like that on the screen already, but there's more to his story, and I'm concerned about revealing too much here, but I'd like to see that on screen.
Oh, that sounds good. Danica McKellar was who I was thinking of, who was another. So Danica McKellar is known from The Wonder Years, but she also like solved some math problem that like people were not able to solve for like years upon years upon years. She's like a math genius, like big brain genius.
Nice.
Oh, this sounds like the plot of Foundation. Maybe that is her story.
Oh,
right.
So wait, is Foundation out? Because I want to see that.
It comes out on the 24th of September, so a couple of days.
Sweet. I can't believe I'm getting Foundation and Dune, like big budget adaptations. What a lucky boy I am. Okay, so final question, again by Matan Blensky. Do you have any thoughts on how much Jimmy Cameron is spending on world building rather than writing the plot for Avatar? And why do you think it's taking so long for him to do Avatar 2? Well, maybe the first part is why, because he just wants to live in Pandora rather than make movies.
Do you remember, I'm sorry, I'm taking us way off track. Do you remember when there were people who were on message boards that were like, I am depressed because I can't actually live in Pandora?
Yes. Oh, 100%. Yes. That was one of my many alts.
Now you can, it seems, Spencer.
Yes. I think he's waiting for the technology for us to become avatars to watch Avatar. I think
yes.
Only once we can become the Blues are we allowed to watch Avatars 2 through 5.
I think, I just think that he's a dude that takes his time. Like he doesn't have to rush anymore. Like he's James Cameron. Like he's got the money. He's got all of the blue he could ever handle. He doesn't necessarily have to rush through it. And I do think some of it's world building. I also think that he's one of those people who's like feature creep is what they call it in gaming, where it's like a
Star
new thing.
Citizen.
Yes, like a new thing comes out and now I have to do the new thing. Now a new thing comes out, now I have to do the new thing. And like you'll keep doing that until you just make whatever it is obsolete. I think that he just keeps chasing whatever the new technology is until finally one day someone at a studio is going to be like, you just have to put the thing out.
And I do think for Avatar, at least the first one, the world building and the plotting of the film were kind of one and the same, because I remember I rewatched it sort of recently, and in movies where it would be just a montage of like the hero learns to live as one of the avatars or whatever, the Na'vi, that's not a montage. That's the second hour of the movie. It's just him like, here's this part of Pandora. It does this, and we have this creature here. Do you want to ride this creature? It's pretty fun. Okay, let's go for a ride. Like, it's not furthering the plot. It's just, let's live in these bodies for a while, which is, I think, why people like it, or why they want to do the whole 3D immersive, plug my brain in experience. So
I just like the 3D because it was like, it did look really cool.
To
me, it's like the only way to watch that movie is to watch it in the 3D.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I think that they're one and the same to me. You see an Avatar movie because you want to go explore another world, not because you care what happens to Jake Sully personally, if that is his real name. All right, I think that's our show for the day. Thank you, Kim, for joining us this evening. Thank you, Danielle, for joining us this morning. And thank you for joining us wherever you are. We'll be back next week, or maybe even later this week with a review. Who's to say? Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This episode was brought to you by Hulu.